Hey everyone, it's Dr. H, your friendly working guide at the Air Command and Staff College. This video is about how air-to-air combat works. There are a lot of times when you're going to resolve air-to-air combat, air superiority step, interception, and escort as part of strikes or other similar or close air support, which we'll talk about all in due time, exactly how that works. This is just a quick video about how air-to-air combat itself works. Now, air-to-air combat takes place on the air-to-air combat table. Again, we're not using a lot of, we're not going to be using tables in the gameplay, but the adjudicator has this table loaded in, so it's important that you have an idea of how it works, right? So, the questions that we have to know about, right? One, what is the air-to-air value of the plane? Now, we've talked about how to read air-to-air pieces, but it's the first number at the bottom. And then we have to talk about when the plane can fight in air-to-air combat. There are three phases in air-to-air combat. There is dogfight, standoff, and long range. We start at long range. Now, the question is, can this airplane fight at any particular given step? And that's determined by the number of asterisks after the air-to-air value. So, right, the F-22, right, air-to-air value of 6, asterisks. Great time. So it can fight at long range, it can fight at standoff, it can fight in dogfight. We know that. This A-10 is an air value of 1, no asterisk, so it can fight in a dogfight. This Sukhoi, what is that, 27? Close enough. It has an asterisk, so it can fight at standoff and dogfight, right? So if we were to pair up an F-22 against a Sukhoi 27, at long range, the F-22 is going to get a shot and the Sukhoi can't shoot back. Now, the next question to think about is whether or not an aircraft is stealthy or not. Stealthy aircraft can only be engaged in dogfight. So even though this Sukhoi 27 can shoot at standoff, it can't see the F-22. So the F-22 is going to shoot her to get in standoff. And then we're going to dogfight if we've made it that far, right? Conversely, right, if this Sukhoi is going up against this A-10, then, right, the Sukhoi is, we're going to skip the long range step. There's nobody can fire at long range. The Sukhoi is going to shoot at standoff, and if the A-10 survives, we're going to have a dogfight between a Sukhoi and an A-10. I still have my money on the Sukhoi. If two aircraft with stealth fight each other, right, like so this F-22 and this Felon over here, they get into a fight, they only fight a dogfight, right? Stealthy aircraft can only be engaged in dogfight. So stealthy on stealthy means we're going to have a dogfight and that's it. Right, even though both of them have double asterisks, right? But stealth overrides the asterisks. Keep in mind too, if a unit like this Bear has a air-to-air value in parentheses, remember it doesn't shoot, right? This is only for determining air-to-air value, or where we belong on the air-to-air chart, right? So, remember, long range, standoff, dogfight. Then ask yourself the question, is this unit stealthy? Stealthy can only be fought at dogfight. If a unit can shoot in a combat phase, it shoots. Air-to-air combat is, generally speaking, simultaneous, right? So, if two aircraft are eligible to fight in a phase, so in this case, right, the dogfight phase, they'll shoot at each other. It's great. If it's not eligible to fight, we just do one fighter, right? We just do that plane. Now, the question might come up, what about 2v1? 2v1 is interesting. So, the plane that is the sides that are the two, right, each get to take their shots when they're eligible. This is a little weird because everybody's only the only person there, both of them would only be eligible at dogfight because the F-22 is stealthy. But imagine that was an F-15 for a second. It's not stealthy. So we're going to have, both of those would be shoot in phases in which they're both eligible to shoot. If only one plane's eligible to shoot in a particular phase, it's the only one that shoots in that phase. Note that even if the one is eligible to shoot, it only still takes one shot, right? So the F-22 here would have to choose, right? So at long range, it has to choose which one it can fire at. Well, this is stealthy, so it's going to shoot at the Sukhoi. And then at standoff, if they're both there, it's going to shoot at the Sukhoi again. And then it can choose to dogfight with either the Sukhoi or the Felon, depending on the circumstances. As we get closer, more modifiers apply, right? So you can see over here on the chart, long range only a little bit applies. Once you get standoff, a little more applies. Once you get to dogfight, a little more applies, right? So it's the modifiers are always going to be this plus this plus this. So whether is it a close support mission, right? Are we attacking that 0? Are we attacking a parentheses air to air, and then pilot skill matters in the dogfight, right? Those are the big things that matter. To actually do air-to-air combat, right, to have somebody shoot at somebody, we're going to subtract the defender's air-to-air value from the attacker's air-to-air value. This can give us a negative number, right? So imagine, right, these two are dogfighting. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. That's okay, because if you look over here at the chart, negative 1's an option, right? The results that can be kicked back are explained over here, right? So you can read the chart, but to give you a quick rundown, right? X is taken out. D is damaged. Flip it over. A is aborted. And then we had this weird result, AD/D, right? So AD/D means if this isn't a dogfight, one side gets advantage. What advantage means is that the other side gets... being advantage means that you get to shoot first in the next phase. So imagine you are both shooting at long range, and one side gets an A result, an AD, an advantage result. Then in the next standoff phase, the side that's advantage shoots first. If the other side survives, they get to shoot back. Right? So this is an exception to the who shoots first, the simultaneous situation. Note the /D. If there's a dogfight, there's no advantage to be had, right? The fight is over. The side just becomes a D result. The side that suffered the result just takes damage and moves on. So dogfighting, I guess, turns a little deadlier once we get into that close of a range. But again, air-to-air combat. We have the air-to-air combat chart. We have modifiers, and we have 3 phases: standoff, long range, standoff, dogfight. Everybody can fight in the dogfight. If you have 1 asterisk or 2, you can fight a standoff, and if you have 2 asterisks, you can fight a long range. If you're a stealthy, you're not engageable until the dogfight. Excuse me. 2v1, right? The 1 can only shoot against 1 plane. The two can shoot against 2 planes. Correction. Both of the 2s can shoot, but the 1 can only shoot against 1 of the plane in each phase. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to subtract the defender from the attacker, right? So if the attacker is a 6 and the defender is a 5, 6 minus 5 is +1. If the defender is a 5 and the attacker is a 6, 5 minus 6 is -1. Excuse me. So that's how we do air-to-air combat, right? Air-to-air combat, like I said, it's an important part of air superiority. It's also an important part of air defense. And can come up in both circumstances. We'll talk about that as we get closer to those sorts of things. Right now, this is just about how does air-to-air combat work, right? How is it resolved? So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I will see you on the flip side.